What's the first thing that jumps out to you about this Kings win against the T-Pups?
I guess really the way that they adjusted. And what I love about that is I feel like that's what we talked about after the game on Saturday. That's what we talked about this morning on our daily show was how are they going to respond? How they respond is really going to be the way that we see this team. Though it's one of those tests, they only played the T-Wolves for the first time this season on Saturday, and they took what they knew and responded to it, went after Gobert, went into him, and they did not shy away from that.
And that was encouraging to see. And it was encouraging to see a team that allowed well over 50% shooting play a little better defense tonight. I felt like they came out of the gate. Both teams were missing a ton of shots early. I mean, I think it was 6-6 near the halfway point of the first quarter. Shots started to fall a bit. But I thought Sacramento came out of the gate, and it was deflections. It was a little more aggressiveness. Hell, they were even throwing some double teams late in this game on Ant. I'm like, this is encouraging stuff. Rotations were better. I thought Sabonis had some incredible verticality plays at the rim on multiple drives by the T-Wolves, including one on Ant.
I noted that one too.
A lot of good stuff tonight.
Yeah.
The Kings gave up 36 points in the second quarter, their worst one. They were outscored 36-27. But in the first quarter, allowed 17. In the third quarter, 28. In the fourth quarter, 22 points and 8 in the overtime session.
Whew.
So you allow one 30-plus point quarter, a really bad one in the second quarter. You got your shit together and played well down the stretch.
Well, and that was after a first quarter where neither team had scored in like the first 3 whatever minutes. I mean,
Right.
It could have been 2 something, whatever it was. And it wasn't like their defense was just locked in and that's what was stopping them. They were missing some shots. They were missing things. So when they started making things in that second quarter and they got things going again for themselves, it was great that the Kings had a better response in that second half.
Much better response. But coming out of the gate, I think all eyes were kind of on De'Aaron Fox tonight. We talked about how he played in quarters 1 through 3 in that first game against Minnesota. I was like, all right, is he gassed? Is he tired? What's going on with him? And then he explodes for 21 points in that fourth quarter in the loss. And we were both talking about, I was like, hey, can they find a little more balance? Can he come out and be aggressive from the start? He was aggressive from the start. He came out, fired, missed his first couple of shots, but then had that nasty jam inside on the attack.
Oh, my God.
Fox was marvelous tonight.
He was.
I mean, he got to his spots, and I know it was cocky when he said it. He's like, oh, I feel like I can get any shot possible. Tonight, I was like, I can see it. Like, late in the game, he was taking over again, had that crazy look on Gobert that was in.
We keep talking about the leap that he's taken in his game, his mentality, but I even feel like with his feel for the game and understanding of the way that it needs to fall off his fingertips, whether it's 5 feet away from the basket or 10 feet away from the basket, or he's going up at the rim, or he has Rudy Gobert's arm straight up in his face. It doesn't matter where it is. He has such a great feel for where he is on the floor and what shot he's about to take. And the ability to make that right now has just been at such a high level.
It was pretty ridiculous to see some of the shots he made late in the game.
Yeah.
The one over Gobert immediately jumps out to me. I mean, Gobert outstretched arms. Fox got it over with the left-hand floater. It was disgusting. It was absolutely disgusting. And he ends up finishing with 32 points. He had a monster finish to this game, which was super encouraging. They needed a quarter like that from him. He closed well again, especially once Sabonis fouled out.
That step back 3, he had to make it 98 under 2 minutes. And even that feel, right? That confidence that he felt in that shot, not only to take it, but to also make it. And you talk about the way that he was going at Gobert and going in the paint. Gobert disrupts everyone's shot in the NBA. He does a fantastic job of it, even if he's not getting a block, right? But the Kings did a much better job of knowing how to go at him aggressively, how to change their speed against him. And it wasn't only Fox doing that late in this game. I think Monk really stepped up with the way that he was driving to the basket.
Monk was great tonight.
Whether he was finishing though, Deuce, and or playmaking, finding an open guy in the corner, especially late, just incredible.
It was a roller coaster ride. He's had some sloppy turnovers, but
oh yes,
I feel like everyone kind of had a stretch tonight, especially when a night it was a night where they got off to a really slow start. The Kings were 1 of 14 from 3 in the first half of this game. And HB and Herter were almost non-factor shooting tonight. In fact, Herter only plays 21 minutes in this game. He was 1 of 7, 0 for 5 from 3. Barnes plays 40 big minutes, but he was 3 for 11, a 1 for 4 from downtown in this game. It was good to have other guys step up. I thought Terrence Davis came in and gave them a lift. And I think Terrence Davis made a case like, hey, Mike Brown, I'm going to need some more minutes here. Unfortunately, it was sacrificing Davion Mitchell a little bit again tonight, which is another storyline we're going to keep watching as the season goes on because I think he's so impactful defensively for this team. Malik Monk, 19 points for him, 5 assists, and he didn't make a 3. He was 9 of 14. His attacking, he had a huge attack late in this game that was big off a steal. I was like, there's no way he's going to be able to finish that. It was really impressive to see that attack.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts of just him and his energy. As Bojack is barking, so I'm going to talk about Malik Monk while Deuce figures it out. But I thought one of my favorite parts was him in overtime. Not only was he confident, his chaotic nature was a little bit more under control. There was a time at the end when 90 seconds left in the game and Malik Monk had that big steal, right? In that moment that he had that big steal, it was, okay, he's getting things done on both ends of the floor. In overtime as well, he found Trey Lyles in the corner on the left side, and then another time he drove it in and found Keegan Murray on the right corner.
Getting those paint touches.
Getting the paint touches. The guys were also hitting these big shots as well, but it was coming off of Malik Monk's energy, and that's truly sometimes what he adds that we don't talk about enough in his bad numbers games or when he's just out there. And I think he does so much to create that he just deserves so much love for that.
Yeah, he was great. It was awesome tonight. He did have 5 turnovers. There were a couple of plays, get a little chaotic at times with him. You never know what to expect with him.
Yeah.
But he was really good overall for the Kings tonight. I think something else we learned from tonight's game, I think Trey Lyles has to be the backup 5 now. We've seen enough. I mean, honestly, like Chimezie Metu struggled again. He comes in, allows 6 quick points on him. Some of it was he had to switch out on guys that he should not be guarding anyway. But then the second stint comes in, Gobert goes right at him. I know that's a challenging matchup. I get that. But I'm looking at some of these centers in the league. I'm going, I think Trey Lyles can hang with these guys. He may not have the height. He may not totally have the athleticism and pop sometimes, but then he surprises you when he jams it on Gobert late in the game for the and one. He could stretch the floor. He's more of a threat, and he could bang a little bit. I think he is the answer for the time being at the backup 5. And in the overtime session, that's who Mike Brown went with. He didn't have Sabonis. He decided, I'm not going to go with Metu here. I'm not going to go with Rushan. I haven't played him. We don't play Alex Len. I'm going with Trey Lyles, and that was an outstanding decision by him.
I'm totally with you. I think the way that he did such a great job of holding his ground when Gobert was trying to post up on him, and then the way that he would rotate over and try and stop other guys when he knew he could depend on someone else to help him out. The communication was there. He's a great anchor. You can tell he appreciates like those fundamentals of the game, right? Just really talking it up and having to be that guy. And going back really quick too to Chimezie Metu, when he did come in, there's times when you're like, oh, he can play above the rim. They can like lob it. He can be that lob threat, and he can be exciting and athletic and mobile for this bigger guy. But then it's his decision making. It's the fact that he still doesn't have that discipline after this much time to be like in Mike Brown's system and no, you shouldn't be taking that 3 just because you're open. Like there's still a different play that could be better on this offensive end, and then being the liability on the defensive end.
Well, they had that sequence in the late third quarter where Kings gave up an open 3. There was some miscommunication. There was a breakdown, and Metu thought it was someone else's fault. Either way, he was at the 3-point line boxing out Naz Reid while a player was shooting an open 3. I mean, it just, those are the breakdowns that you keep having those mistakes. You find yourself out of the rotation.
Yep.
And this is a team that's in desperate need of finding something at that backup 5 spot. I think Trey Lyles might be the answer here on out for Sacramento.
And I I like that in a lot of ways. I like that in a lot of ways because I feel like Mike Brown feels like he can trust him. The way that he can stretch the floor, the way that he can defend what seems to be multiple positions. He's a player that listens, coachable, is a guy that, wants to be out there. So he wants to do the right thing. You see him doing the right thing a lot of the times.
This game got weird late.
Oh,
it got really weird late. Sabonis was in foul trouble in this game, and it got chaotic, right? He picks up his fifth foul. It was an offensive foul. It was 93-92 Sacramento at the time at the 4:50 mark of this quarter. Super questionable call.
Was that the hand in the face one?
No.
Okay, that was the fourth, huh?
I'm not sure exactly when. No, the fourth foul was on a moving screen at 7:48. You're talking about the one that Chris Finch ended up challenging, and they won the challenge?
And they won the challenge, and I believe that's what gave him his...
No, that was in the second quarter. That's
oh, my God.
Yeah, that was...
I'm way off.
Yeah, you're way off. So second quarter, 6:19, Gobert was called for a foul on Sabonis on a drive. It would have been foul number 2. Finch challenges it, which was a smart challenge because it gave Sabonis his third foul at the time.
That's what it was.
And
okay.
Sabonis hit him in the face first. They call that a foul. So that was the challenge that Finch used at the 6:19 mark of the second quarter, which was in some ways like smart. It's like, yeah, you know what? This guy is
Get him
impactful. Let's force him to make a decision here and go with Metu.
Yeah.
So anyway, Sabonis picks up his fourth foul on the moving screen. That was in the third quarter. He was not happy about that one. It looked a little questionable. Okay, you move on. He picks up his fifth foul again on an illegal screen, and he is furious at this point, right? He is just not happy at all. Like, are you kidding me? And then you have the situation where next play down, he gets absolutely kind of crushed down low. At least it looked like that on TV, but I didn't get another angle. He was not happy. He is hot, super hot.
Charges
and this is
after the ref.
This is bad. 3:57. He picks up a technical. It looks like he picked up another technical, and he got escorted back. He went through the tunnel. Sean Rogers, the security guard, took him back. It looked like he got ejected. Then coming out of the timeout, he's back in the game. We had no idea what was happening because the TV crew was not at the game tonight.
Yeah.
They're not on this road trip. Mark Jones and Katie Christensen were in San Francisco calling the game from a studio, which, that brings on challenges. When you're not at a game, it makes it really challenging to know what's going on because you can't get any type of feedback from the officials. You're not on site. You can't listen. You have no one telling you anything. You're at a studio in San Francisco. So we're all left at home going,
what's happening?
What's happening right now? We don't know. So anyway, Sabonis ends up being back in the game after that wild sequence.
Yeah, that was wild. And at first, I thought when they ejected him on that play, it was super frustrating because all I'm thinking is like, he looked just like Draymond Green in all of his moments of charging after a ref, yelling at them, and not even getting teed up, right? And there's been sometimes that Draymond will get that tee, sure. But because he ended up back on the floor, it was kind of funny that everyone was just like so confused on Twitter, online, and just going, what is happening? Who gives a shit? Sabonis is back on the floor. Play on. Let's go.
Well, he did play on, and then he ends up fouling out of the game a little bit later, which was tough, right? He fouls out with 51 seconds to go. It was a good call. It was unfortunate, too, because the Kings are up 103-99 here. So frustrating. Push in the back on Gobert. He fouls out, puts Gobert at the free throw line. Gobert makes one of two. So now it's 103-100. I'm sorry. Yeah, 103-100 after the free throw. The Kings don't get a good look. Then one of the worst missed calls you'll see since, Saturday night between Boston and LA. Second chance opportunity, third chance opportunity, whatever. McDaniels gets a look at a three, and he clearly traveled. Absolutely, no doubt about it, shuffled the feet before launching the three, and he makes the three. We get a tie game.
And an official is right there. And if you watch the replay, the highlight, whatever you want to call it, the official is pointing at his feet because he's pointing at the feet going, ready to call it a three-pointer. So he's just looking at where his feet are compared to the line, but not looking at the way that McDaniels is sliding his foot and is obvious travel. And let me do this though, really quick. Kings defense forcing that travel, forcing him to be confused, and he wanted to swing it to the corner, but then he realized when the guy didn't commit to him and went to the corner, he's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Slid his foot, traveled, hit the three.
You don't want to give up an open three in that situation at all, but they were overplaying on Ant for sure.
Yep.
They were worried that he was going to hit some tough shot, right? And they end up giving it to McDaniels, shuffles a feet, or as Stephen Brown says in the chat, the bro river danced before the game tying three, and the ref watched. You know, they call that travel, game is over. Kings win. They don't have to go to overtime. Nonetheless, hey, they missed the call. Absolutely dreadful. It's one of those things too. It's like, you're not shielded. The guy was open. Like there were fans. There's one fan who was
Right there.
A T-Wolves fan's like, yeah, ref, that was a travel. Like, they're calling on their own team.
And I know sometimes you get that help from the opposing team, but you had Mike Brown and the rest of the coaching staff and down the bench calling it a travel for the official too. It's like when we were watching that NFC Championship game with the Eagles punter and the ball hit the wire and everyone's pointing up at the wire and it's like the ball hit the wire, right? Like, look how far it went out of bounds. And it's so blatantly obvious, but they're still not going to make the call. It's super frustrating.
Yeah, and those are the things that like fans look at and go, how do you miss it? That could cost a team a game. You have to be better than that.
Yeah. And that's, well, you know what, Deuce? And really quick, let me just say this I think as a Kings fan too, what becomes so triggering about that is that finally there's something to really feel good about with the Sacramento Kings, and it's real, and they're doing it on their own, and they're controlling what they can control. But when it's something that they can't control and it's taking it away from them, it's traumatizing. It's triggering. I know that all sounds dramatic, but it's the truth. Like, you just go, they didn't shoot themselves in the foot. You're just taking this one away from them. But at least they ended up getting the W in overtime.
I thought the Kings had no chance in overtime.
Whoa.
I mean, Sabonis fouls out with 50 whatever seconds left. You're like, are you kidding me? Like, you have to go to overtime. You were in control. You're up 4. Like, there's no way you should be losing this game or even going to overtime. And I'm thinking bad things. We'll talk about that in a second. I just want to acknowledge all the people watching us live right now. Appreciate you guys all being here late on a Monday night. 500 plus people. I love it. The biggest thing you can do, all you 500 people, is make sure to hit the thumbs up button. That should be, why don't we match it? Why don't we put that at 500? I know people come and go, but seriously, let's get that number up because all it does is help this channel grow. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Like Tribe just subscribed. We're approaching 10,000 subs. That's a huge milestone, and it's thanks to your guys' support. So please make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe like Alex did. And Bill, who became a member, shout out to Peyton, who donated $5 saying, you're like Robert Ory when you take the jacket off, Deuce. You're shooting daggers into the hearts of Kings fans. So yeah, you're right. You should just leave the jacket on. Appreciate that.
At all times. At all times.
So you go to overtime and you're wondering, okay, what's going to happen? How are you going to win this game with Sabonis not playing?
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting what Mike Brown did in the overtime session. We kind of hit on it about Trey Lyles' performance. He elects to start Trey Lyles in the overtime session. They go with Fox, Monk, Barnes, Keegan, and Lyles, and it pays dividends in a big way. They start their overtime session. Malik Monk finds Lyles for 3. Next play, he ends up finding Keegan for 3. You mentioned those back-to-back dimes by Malik Monk. And how about Keegan hitting some big shots in this game?
Dude, Keegan Murray not only hitting
huge rebounds.
Yeah, and I will say just my one little knock. There was a time there at the end. I believe it was.
I know what you're talking about. Too passive.
And
He wasn't looking to score.
Dude, he didn't even look square up to even look like a threat. And that's where I'm like, no, I don't care if you knew in your mind already that you weren't going to go. That's fine. If you were scared of the moment, I don't want to like blame being scared of the moment on that. But either way, as a basketball player, to help the rest of your team, you gotta look like a threat in one way or another.
And I think this is sometimes a negative of having a player like Fox who could take over in the fourth quarter, because sometimes players are like, okay, here you go. You always take over, so go do it. And it's like, no, Fox can get his for sure. And we want Fox to go ahead and attack, get the midi, attack the paint, get some good looks, but you still have to be a threat. And when you get the ball and you're immediately looking the passing, not even making any type of move to the basket, looking at the hoop, that doesn't help you, and you can't be that passive. That's my one critique on him. But I thought rebounding the ball tonight, outstanding. 13 rebounds, 6 of those offensive rebounds, Morgan.
Yep, that's exactly where I was going to get to. Kings won the second chance points battle 15-12. So Keegan Murray had a lot to do with that. And when your rookie is getting in there and making those big second chance opportunities happen, like there's the difference in the game. We talk about how many times other teams getting those second chance opportunities on the Kings are so deflating. The Kings had that on Minnesota.
Yeah, it was big time. And you know, we talk so much about what Trey Lyles was able to do. He had the 3. He had that big dunk, the one where he was attacking the. I mean, he attacked so strong. Gobert was there and won, puts the Kings up 112-106. Kyle Anderson slow-mos it. God, I like Kyle Anderson.
He's so slow and it works.
It's a little sloth, and you're just like, what is
Every
happening?
Every time. You're not even like exaggerating.
It works. So he scores, then Fox comes down and hits a bucket. Lyles had another jam from Fox, which was the craziest play ever because I think it was what we were just talking about. Keegan immediately looking to pass, and like Fox has the ball, and you're like, okay, you got to score here. It's 114-111. It's still a 3-point game. You need a bucket here. And out of nowhere, you see Fox fire a pass because there was a defensive breakdown on Minnesota where they just let Lyles go wide open. Fox saw it. Pinpoint pass on the money, and Lyles jammed it home. And that pretty much sealed it for Sacramento.
Beautiful execution by both of them. And those are the moments you love seeing being executed because those are also sometimes the scariest moments when a guy is that wide open or when a 3 is that wide open. And for Trey Lyles to come in there and be ready for the big moments, that was great. But also, you just look at the Kings defense and what they were able to do all night long. Not only the second chance opportunities, but a season high 15 steals on the night.
Wow.
Yeah.
Stat of the night nominee, 15 steals.
I know. Who had the most steals? I was just going to look, though.
Harrison Barnes had 4.
That's
De'Aaron Fox had a couple. And how about, do I want to double check this? Malik Monk with 3 steals.
Dude, well, Harrison Barnes got the defensive player of the game chain.
Yeah.
So, you look at those steals and those big moments for him, and it's...
I wish we had deflections tonight, too, because I thought they were super active.
Yes.
Which was huge. And I just thought... This is the type of team defense that the Kings need to just be locked in all the time. You know they're not going to be perfect. You're going to have breakdowns. That's okay. But it's getting into guys. It's playing with physicality. It's rebounding the basketball. I thought they did a great job tonight. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, and Sabonis ends up fouling out. But, he's dealing with a lot of stuff out there, especially when guys are getting blown by or he's trying to recover or whatever.
Yeah.
He had a lot of great defensive plays at the rim tonight. Let's see if he was even credited. Let's see. Oh, he had 2 blocks tonight. He had 2 blocks tonight, but he changed a few other shots, and I thought that was significant for the Kings.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think just like you said, the impact that he made in the game. So for Minnesota to really attempt to find any way to get him out of the game was a smart game plan. And hey, you look at the Kings game plan and how the T-Wolves defend teams in the fast break. It's not the best. So what do you need to do? You need to get those deflections. You need to get those steals. You need to get the ball out quick. And the Kings just did a much better job of that, responding, adjusting their game to just really doing their homework and doing what they need to do against the T-Wolves.